Thank you for joining Jennifer Schaus and Associates in our 2019 Webinar Wednesday series. We are coming to you live from downtown Washington, D.C. Our webinars are every Wednesday, and you can find the upcoming schedule on our website. Past webinars and all recordings are also on our website and on our YouTube channel, along with over 160 other recordings on federal contracting topics. All are complimentary. If you have questions for our speaker today, you can contact him directly with the contact information you'll see on the last slide. All right, just a little bit about us. We are a Washington, D.C.-based firm and provide services for federal contractors. This ranges from market analysis reports to proposal writing and also post-award compliance. More information is on our website, so please visit us there. And we do offer advertising, so you can contact me if you would like more information. And our webinar today is sponsored by AccuTrack. Here's a short message from them.
AccuTrack Consulting and Accounting Services is an 8A WOSB CPA firm committed to supporting entities sustain growth in government contracting. Our outstanding DCAA accounting solutions reduce audit risk, improve cash flows, and give you peace of mind. Contact us today to learn how we can enhance your DCAA accounting efforts.
All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Our speaker today is Alan Scheib, and he's going to be covering the reason to respond sources sought RFI. And Alan, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to you.
Okay, thank you, Mallory, and thank you everyone for coming out today. So I'm Alan Scheib with BidSpeed, and just a little bit about my background. I came from the Air Force a long time ago, in a galaxy far away, I guess you would say. I flew in the Air Force. I spent my last several years on the logistics side in what I like to refer to as the other side of the fence. There in actual reviewing and receipt of proposals on different weapon systems there for the Air Force there. So went on to work in industry for a couple of small billion-dollar contracting firms, and then figured out, this is the way to do it. And so thank you for teaching me billion-dollar contracting firms how to be a contractor, and went out and built out BidSpeed that we provide for our clients around the U.S. and Puerto Rico and then the Hawaiian Islands and stuff. So one of the things we focus on a lot is responding to sources sought here. So that's a good opportunity for you to really get in at the ground level, if you will, on opportunities coming out from different agencies. Now, I get asked the question all the time, I want to see stuff. I want to be out in front of stuff before it's on FBO. I want to be talking to them before it's FBO. Well, everybody does, right? Everybody wants that competitive edge or that competitive intelligence there. But FBO is the primary point of sales, if you will, for the federal government on items over $25,000. And then sources sought and market research, RFIs, or the market research phase, that's where the government actually comes in and says, okay, who's out there that has the capabilities to fulfill a requirement there. There's about 1,300 to 1,400 of these that come out every month. They're on a number of different requirements. And the emphasis we always get is, well, why would I respond to that? There's no revenue involved in anything like that, right? Well, one, it's easy, and that's where you actually open the door with that agency, right? You want to get in and start talking to the agency. This is how you do it there. So it's a very easy process to do. I've headed off a number of people that spend hours upon hours upon hours writing sources sought and RFIs and responses, thinking that that's going to be the solution and they're going to win that award because of that. And that's just not the case. The government is using this market research phase to set their procurement strategy in place there. So two there, it's it's a primary opportunity for you to advertise your capabilities to the buying organization, right? So they don't know you. So you should take this time and use it to take the mystery out of you for them, right? Let them know that you know how to do a requirement, or you have partnerships with team members that you can form a team to handle the requirement there. And I'll talk about here about how to substantiate that here in a minute. But you've also got the opportunity to help shape that requirement as well. So most of the time, and I'll define most of the time as being 30 to 40% of the time, they do ask for your feedback on the PWS. A lot of times you'll find, and again, 30, 40% of the time, you'll find that the government is really trying to define that procurement strategy even at the work statement level. So they don't know what they don't know. They see the market, the industry, as the experts on how to execute a program properly, right? And what should be in that statement of work, or how should that be contracted? Should it be time and material? Should it be firm fixed price or cost plus fixed fee? So it's your opportunity to make those recommendations, as well as the different NAICS codes and NAICS codes. I've heard it said a couple of different ways. I call it NAICS codes, but if there's a better NAICS code that you can recommend, obviously you can do that. Now that's where you get into really starting to provide the influence. So maybe you see a NAICS code that will work, that is a $7.5 million NAICS code, meaning that if your company on the average is $7.5 million in revenue or less over the last 3 years, then you would qualify as a small business. So, that's just one variable or one opportunity for you to help shape that requirement there and eliminating some of the competition there. A fourth item there, the opportunity to provide substantiated influence there, that kind of is the NAICS code. Also your socioeconomic status, whether you're woman-owned, 8A, service disabled, veteran-owned, HUB zone. It's your opportunity to make that recommendation, and you need to formally request for the opportunity to be set aside. Going back to the Supreme Court ruling, I think it was back in 2013, there, I want to say it was King versus the U.S. or King versus the Veterans Administration there. So thankfully, there was a company out there that had the wherewithal to take it to the Supreme Court. Well, it was a unanimous ruling, 8-0, that says a government agency cannot arbitrarily meet their small business goals and just stop doing small business set-asides. So the VA was the culprits in that, and they basically were meeting their small business goals, reporting that, and then they were not doing small business set-asides outside of that, and therefore that put more emphasis back on the rule of two. So the rule of two being, if the government or if an organization is able to obtain at least 2 responses that obviously would need to meet the requirement there, and are businesses that check all the blocks for that particular procurement, then the contracting officer or officials have the latitude then to make the recommendation in their procurement strategy to set that aside. So if they receive 2 8As, then they have the latitude to set that aside in 8A in their acquisition strategy there. So the agencies can't arbitrarily say, hey, we've met our small business goal, so we don't have to do set-asides anymore. So when you submit this sources sought RFI response to the contracting officer or specialist, it's your opportunity to do a couple of things. One, to talk to them, right? To have direct email contact with them. We always recommend to, once you submit, to follow up with them via phone call. You probably will see numerous times on sources sought's market research, they will not be taking phone calls there. That's fine. Leave them a voicemail. There's nothing that says you can't still call them and leave them a voicemail to say, hey, I want you to make sure that you received my opportunity. Now, we would recommend that instead of doing read receipts and all of that, obviously you want to do deliveries and use the technology that you have at your disposal to make sure that response is delivered. You also want to maybe put a statement in there right after you say, hello, Mr. or Mrs. Contracting Officer. You want to put a statement in there that says, please verify receipt of this response with a short reply to this email. there. That works. We've seen that work at over a 90% success rate there. As well, it's your opportunity there to engage in some back and forth via email in the silent communication world we live in today, through email and text and all that good stuff, right? They will also, too, I've seen this a number of times of clients being added to the mailing list, right? So you talk about, wanting to see the RFP before it hits FBO. I've seen it a lot where 2 or 3 days out, the contracting officer will alert the folks that did respond, the businesses that did respond to the source of SOTs RFIs, and let them know, hey, we're getting ready to release the RFP, just giving you a heads up there. So it's a good opportunity to get on their mailing list. And you can also ask, hey, if you have a mailing list, can you add us to this mailing list there? As well, if they do pick up the phone and talk to you, it's an opportunity to gain some intelligence. Is this a new requirement? Is there an incumbent? Is this going to be awarded in FY19, or is this planned for FY20 award there? So a lot of those standard questions that will, again, help you in preparation for the RFP when it does come out. And I wouldn't even be, I've asked this 100 times, what's the government's budget? The worst they can say is we can't disclose that information, or we don't know there, or that's still in process of definition there. So as it relates to budget there, I get asked the question a lot on responding to sources SOTs as it relates to pricing. I always err on the side of, if you feel like you want to give them pricing, give them a range, right? However, if they have not asked for it, I probably would not do it, because if you are the most efficient company in the world at doing some requirement, and you've done this 100,000 times on the commercial side, and you know down to the nickel what the budget would be, it doesn't mean the government knows that same thought. So if you just feel compelled to give them pricing, then give them a good range of pricing. Here's the risk that you run. They don't know what they don't know. You do. You're the expert in what you do. So if you give them, $100,000 to $110,000 to perform a task, and the contracting officer is sitting there, knowing that the budget is $1 million there, then they might see your response as non-compliant. They'll say, well, this company thinks you can do it for $100,000. We haven't really asked for pricing, but they just sort of identified themselves, and they probably aren't somebody that know what they're doing. So even though they don't know what they don't know, they can look at you in that case and say, well, they probably don't understand what they're doing, since they're $900,000 under what we know what the budget is. So I would err on the side of, if they don't ask for the pricing, just stand fast until the RFP comes out, and save that for your RFP phase there. So this is also going to increase your situational awareness. I talked about the, getting a heads up from the contracting officers in a lot of cases, but also, too, it allows you to identify this opportunity in your pipeline, and that there is a requirement out there with an agency on something that you can do. So it gives you, it puts that business opportunity on your radar, and you're able to internally maybe make some budgetary planning, or make some planning to either bring on the staff or bring on the necessary partners that you need in order to respond to the RFP when it comes out. So it does give you the opportunity to prepare yourself when the opportunity is released, so that you are ahead of the game there. And that's just as good as that's just as equal, or just as good as being in front of the opportunity before it's released on FBO there. So as a matter of fact, a lot of that myth was actually propagated back in the 90s, when data first became available in public spaces on this thing called the internet, this sticking around there. So data propagators actually or data aggregators have propagated this myth that if you're looking at FBO, you're too late there. I would probably say if you're in the business of building the next generation bomber or next generation aircraft carrier, yeah, I probably wouldn't wait until it comes out on FBO there to get involved in that. But in 90% of the opportunities coming out on FBO, that is the point of sale there. And then I'll finalize here, point 8 here is this is easy. It is not a proposal. It should not take you 30 minutes or an hour at the most if you're organized. Now, what does organization mean? 85% of the information that they ask for from source of sought to source of sought is always the same. What's your company name? What's your address? What are your NAICS code? What's your socioeconomic or business type? What's your cage? What's your DUNS? So if you organize all of this into a cover letter format and here is all of our general company information, then you are postured to not have to pull that information together all the time. You just change a couple of numbers and you're good. Now, I'd recommend too always having a transactional page ready, right? That's got your header, your footers, and all that, so that if they ask some specific questions in there that they want you to answer, you can just do a quick cut, paste, copy and just answer their questions on that transactional page. A lot of times they won't even ask for that. They'll just want your general business company information, your CAPE statement, maybe some past performance and a DFAR report. But I would have that transactional page ready to go so that you can insert that and answer the questions there. And what type of questions? You know, they may have, you know, what color shorts do you wear on Thursday? You know, and I'm being kind of silly in that example, but again, we're dealing with agencies that are putting out requirements and doing market research because they don't know what they don't know, right? So you've got to help educate them in this process. Your capability statement, so you should have one, keep it up to date. That should always be available. So kind of look at your cover letter as you know, the same as a capability statement. If you've got a capability statement, go ahead and do a cover letter. And a cover letter that says, hey, we are pleased to provide our response and your salutations and everything, a real nice business letter to lay on top of the capability statement. And then take several past performance. We always recommend librarying your past performance. So template out your past performance, keep that in a single location there. And maybe you've got 15 projects, both commercial and government there, and you can separate them out and you can pick and choose. Hey, I want to use, you know, past performance number 3, number 7, and number 10 in this response there. So if you take a little time, get organized up front, have that library ready, then when these source of soughts come out, it's a very easy administrative process in packaging it together. Now, there's also a thing called BFAR Rapport. Now, you can go to sam.gov and pull this using your CAGE or DUNS number there. You just go to search, and then you search your company using CAGE and DUNS, and you select that entity, and then go to reps and search there. It's pretty straightforward. And it's about a 60-page report. All you need is the first page. And why is that important? Almost 99% of every source of sought that comes out, there's a boilerplate statement in there that says you have to be registered in SAM in order to participate on this requirement, right? Everybody kind of knows that already, but this again is just you're just taking the mystery out of the contract, you know, or the work off the contracting officer's plate for them, and you're validating with that cover letter on the DFAR report that you are registered in SAM there. And as the same, you can also use that, for those of you that are unaware, you can use that one-page report there off of that 60 pages to validate your reps and search when you're doing RFP responses as well. So that's that's the reasons we say to respond to source of sought. Again, it is the open door for you to introduce your company around a capability and substantiate to the government that you can do that, and also make the formal request for it to be small business set aside or set aside to your company's advantage. So it eliminates the competition out there for you when it does get to the RFP stage. And then it also, again, it builds your sales pipeline up and puts valid requirements in there that allows you to begin to do business planning internally yourself and ready yourself for when the RFP does come out there, that you've got the staff in place to respond, or the team members in place to respond to. And again, take some time in a day, a Saturday morning or a late Friday afternoon when the phones have stopped ringing, and do a cover letter, do a transactional page, even though that transaction page may be blank. That way it's already there, and keep all of this information in a single location, your CAPE statement, your past performance, so that when the market research is there, you can grab those documents, roll them together in a PDF, and send there. So that is all I have there. I hope this has been informational there. I've tried to keep it in a very real and straightforward way, in the way that we always work with our clientele and responding to sources thoughts. And again, there's about 1,300 to 1,400 of these come out every month from FBO across all NAICS codes there. So again, don't look at it as, well, it's not going to gain me anything, because it actually gains a lot of what you are asking for all the time, and that's, I want to see things before they come out there. So, and I want to talk to the actual agency before the RFP. So you're able to get ahead of the ballgame there. So thanks a lot for your time and for coming out today. So Mallory, I think that wraps it up for me. So.
All right. Thank you, Alan, for sharing your knowledge and insight today. Today's presentation has been recorded and can be found on our website or YouTube channel within about 48 hours. If you have questions about today's topic, please contact Alan at the phone number or email shown on your screen. Thank you, everybody. This concludes the webinar.